I think we all agree that the entire problem, as well as the refugee crisis, can be solved in one swoop with the toppling of this brutal repressive regime and the establishment of a free, secular, democratic Iran that values human rights. But until that time, there are some things we must do to prevent executions and undue suffering of peaceful and innocent Iranians. I consider each one of the thousands of political prisoners as a hero because of the level of courage it takes to look beyond one's own safety and instead sacrifice it all for the greater good, for the nation. They are heroic because by engaging in an act of civil disobedience, like taking off your hijab or being in a sit-in or dancing in public or singing a lyric that questions the regime, or even by putting a period on a tweet that finishes Supreme Leader Khamenei's sentence, they knew the risks and still made that calculated choice that ended them being locked up. Unlike jails in Canada where inmates have their own TV sets and access to university courses, jails in Iran are riddled with cockroaches and rats, food is scarce, you're often denied basic needs, your access to medical care or your medicine. The same applies for wound care after you've been beaten, tortured with electrical cords, forcing you to confess to crimes you did not commit, threatening to rape your mother or sister in front of your very eyes if you don't. It explains the number of deaths in custody. What about the deaths documented days afterwards? Perhaps it's due to the unknown substances being injected into some of these prisoners. Suicide after release is also a reality for those that could not endure the trauma or shame from their detainment. As for solutions, our organization, Iranian Justice Collective, compiled a very comprehensive database of political prisoners at the start of Women Like Freedom movement and matched them with hundreds of politicians as their political sponsors. I know CFPBI maintains an amazing database as well, so thank you, Shiva, for decades of your relentless work on this issue. It's important to keep their names alive in the public to cause pressure for this regime not to go ahead with executions. But it's simply not enough. The world needs to stop with its policy of appeasement, commemorating the death of people like former President Raisi, the butcher of Tehran, implicated in thousands of deaths of innocent Iranians. Foreign ministers and the diplomatic corps need to think twice before shaking the blood-soaked hands of these regime officials, legitimizing a regime that has no support from 80% of the population. A clear and resolute message needs to be sent that if one engages in crimes against humanity, there will be political, economic, and diplomatic costs and consequences. Negotiating with a terrorist regime simply does not work and has not worked for the past 45 years. No more empty words. We need action. I'm en route to Ottawa. IJC worked with members of parliament from each political party to condemn the execution order of Iranian rap artist Tumaj Salehi simply for exercising his right to freedom of expression. And we urge them to support what we have entitled Too Much Sanctions, a list of 31 regime officials in the Iranian judiciary implicated in human rights abuses. The unanimous consent motion will be presented in the House of Commons on Monday, and we expect full party support. I hope we see the equivalent in Europe and Australia, just like with the Tumaj Act in the United States. And I hope we can all work together. I hope we can park our political affiliations at the door and work in coordinated campaigns in our efforts for targeted sanctions, asset freezes, travel bans, and of course, using the IRGC alternatives. We are all united for the love of Iran and Iranians and our dream to see a free Iran with not one single political prisoner in existence.